So people like to ask me, "Hey Brad, are you a Final Fantasy fan?" And I scoff at them, man. I'm not a Final Fantasy fan. It's not like I got some Cactar plush doll over here. I don't got that. No way, Jose. It's not like I bought Final Fantasy VII for the Nintendo Switch, for the fourth time. It's not like I bought that game for the fourth time, even though I did. And it's not like I bought Final Fantasy IX for the third time on the Nintendo Switch. I would never do that. It's not like I bought Final Fantasy X again, the physical edition. No, I didn't buy that. And Final Fantasy 12? Please, guys, don't make me laugh. Why would I buy this game? It's not like I liked it or anything. And it's definitely, I didn't go out of my way to find a physical version of World of Final Fantasy, which can only be, by the way, ordered through PlayAsia, apparently, to get a physical edition. Yeah, I didn't do that. I would never, ever do that. And look, I know what it looks like, and it looks pretty bad. But if I was a crazy Final Fantasy fan, I would have bought the Japanese version of that stupid Chocobo Dungeon game. Oh my gosh, I did. So yeah, okay. Maybe, just maybe, I'm a little bit of a Final Fantasy fan. Yeah, okay, I'm a huge fan of Final Fantasy. I mean, for crying out loud. My channel was called the Cactuar Gamer initially because I am such a big fan of Final Fantasy. But despite having 4 physical editions of Final Fantasy games for the Nintendo Switch now, nothing gets me more excited than the fact that Final Fantasy VIII Remastered is coming to the Nintendo Switch. I am so stoked. You don't understand. So let me explain why this makes me so happy. And it starts kind of just by acknowledging that Final Fantasy VIII is the black sheep of the PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy games, because whenever you hear anybody talk about Final Fantasy on the classic PlayStation, you hear them talk about Final Fantasy VII and how this is the greatest game of all time, or it's the best Final Fantasy ever. It was the game that everybody knows about, talks about. They're even doing a gigantic remake that's coming out in March of 2020 for Final Fantasy VII. So that game steals a lot of attention, and even if it's not that game, it's Final Fantasy IX that is also stealing a lot of people's attention. A lot of people will say that is their favorite, or that it was a better game than Final Fantasy VIII. And you know what? They're not actually wrong. I mean, even though Final Fantasy VIII is probably my favorite Final Fantasy game that I have ever played, and yes, that's probably due to nostalgia a little bit, as it was my first Final Fantasy game that I ever played, I, even as just being a critic, can understand and agree to a lot of different reasons that people bring up as to why Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy IX is a better game than Final Fantasy VIII. Having said that, that is why I feel like making a remaster of Final Fantasy VIII is just so perfect, because a lot of people have played 7 and have played 9, but a lot of people also skipped 8 and never actually gave this game a shot. And you know what? Final Fantasy VIII is a really good game. Yes, I don't really care about, for example, the draw mechanic that is in this game, and the characters themselves, especially if you go back and look at how they looked originally on the classic PlayStation. They looked kind of weird, but I just absolutely loved what Square Enix at the time, they were Squaresoft, did with this game. This was the one that they really pushed the boundaries in terms of graphics and what they were trying to do. Final Fantasy VII just had a bunch of polygons and the characters looked kind of silly, whereas this game, they tried to make the humans actually look human. And so when you remaster this, you can just tell, even by this trailer that I've slowed down, you can see how much better all of the characters look. They look so much more lifelike, and I love it. Having said that, there are some things I would hope that, because this is a remaster, that they would improve, the quality of life of this game. For example, I hope they improve the draw mechanics, so when you draw magic from your enemies, it just counts as 100 instead of having to constantly draw over and over again the magical abilities. That would be something that would really improve the quality of life in this game. And not only that, but there's a few other things I could see them improving. Like, for example, in the Final Fantasy VII version for the Nintendo Switch, you can actually fast forward certain fights and stuff and just kind of do an auto fight to speed things up. And I hope they also bring that to this remastered, because that would be really nice to be able to kind of go through certain parts of any of these RPG games that are, several 100+ hour games a little bit faster, especially for adults like me. I would love that very much. So in case you couldn't tell, man, I love this game, and I just think it's a great opportunity for anyone who hasn't tried this game to give it a shot. And maybe you did try it and you weren't a big fan of it, but the nice thing about remastered versions of games is they can improve upon these games and make them a little bit more streamlined and efficient and better. So maybe that'll convince you to give it another chance as well, because I really do love Final Fantasy VIII from head to toe. It's just one of my all-time favorite games I've ever played in my life. So for it to be coming to what very well could be my favorite console that I have ever had in my life, and I've had a lot of them, it's just a match made in heaven, and I can't wait for this game to be released. Alright guys, that's it for me. Just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this guy ramble on about a game that he loves immensely. I really do love Final Fantasy VIII a lot. I love a lot of the Final Fantasy games, but Final Fantasy VIII just has, a special place in my heart. And like I said, I'm going to do a big thing about that game someday on this channel, explain in fine detail why I love that game so much. But just want to say thank you so much, and I can't wait to get my hands on that game. I am Bradley Overrated, out like a trap. Have a good one! Seriously, this guy's so cool. I don't care if I'm a 30-year-old man. He's the coolest.